fireside chat with everybody. Talk about some things that have been on my mind, some things that are going on. It's a little warm for a fire, to be honest with you, but the smoke helps keep the mosquitoes away and everything, so there's that. It's kind of a trade-off. Plus, sitting by a fire outside at night, it's kind of relaxing. But there's some things that I wanted to talk about with everybody. And there's just been a lot going on this year. That it's really crazy. So I think I'll take this one subject at a time. First off, we've got the COVID-19 situation. You know, we had a major spike in cases. They shut everything down, and to be honest, personally, I think the shutdown was a little bit more extreme than it needed to be, but at the same time, sorry, I put a few more sticks on the fire. I think the shutdown was a little bit more extreme than it needed to be, but I could be wrong about that, and it honestly doesn't matter whether you think this was over executed or not enough was done. The reality is we have to deal with the situation as it is, regardless of whether you think they've done too much or not enough. And personally, I think that there's a lot of businesses that are going to go out of business and they're not coming back from this. And in addition to that, all of this money printing by the Fed that they're doing, we're going to be paying for that for a long, long time. And we're just going to be feeling the consequences of all those decisions for a long time to come. And now that states have started reopening, there's been another surge in cases, what seems to be worse than before. New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut have instituted travel restrictions, so anybody coming from a certain list of states into one of those 3 states will be quarantined for 14 days. So there's that. So if you're traveling to New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut, you need to keep that in mind. Also, we dealt with a lot of food shortages, and not even food shortage, toilet paper shortage, and other things, because people weren't working. And what there was, the prices started going up on some of it. That eased off once everything started reopening. But now that things are getting bad again, 40% of the United States is rolling back on those reopenings. California is shutting down again. No surprise there. I don't see how any of those businesses are going to survive this. But that's setting a trend for multiple states in the United States to shut down all over again, just as things were starting to get a little bit better. That's going to have some severe consequences financially for this country, and also in terms of the availability of certain products, the prices for those products. I know some of the stores in my area, certain meat prices have nearly doubled over the last couple of months. You'll have to excuse my neighbors, they're a little bit noisy. I think I've mentioned them before. But Yeah, we've got that going on. We've got a resurgence in COVID-19 cases. States are starting to shut down again. Some are refusing to. So this is looking like it'll play out well into the fall. And the thing is, the warm weather, the heat, was supposed to cut back on COVID. Apparently it hasn't. So when we get into the cool weather, it's going to be even easier for it to spread, assuming you fall in line with the narrative on this pandemic. And I'm not getting into whether or not it's accurate or not, or whether we're being manipulated. That's a discussion for another video. The next thing that's been on my mind is all these protests and riots. You had a takeover of Seattle, the Chop Chaz zone, which I haven't even discussed. They finally took it down. After about 3 weeks, they finally broke it up. And the police went back in, cleared it out, retook the buildings. But BLM and Antifa, they're already saying that it's not a location. Chop is not a location, it's a movement. And they're already talking about moving to the West Precinct in Seattle and doing a repeat of Chop there. And then there's multiple attempts in other locations across the United States. Some states are allowing it, some states are cracking down on it really hard. But I think we need to be prepared for the fact that BLM and Antifa are gonna continue to try to control things. They're gonna take control of certain areas to push their agenda, and I'm not going to get into their agenda right now either. That's another whole long video by itself. But I think there's a fairly good possibility that this is going to continue and maybe even escalate. You're going to see more of those types of areas, the autonomous zones. That's going to be a normal thing from now on, for a while at least. You're going to see more attacks on people, and regardless of what BLM claims, it's hypocrisy at its finest, in my opinion, because they're screaming racism and justice at the same time that they're using those same things, the hate crimes, hate speech, and racism against whites and conservatives and anyone of any color that doesn't agree with what they want. But there again, I'm starting to get into their agenda, and I didn't want to do that. But yeah, I think there's a strong possibility of that continuing and possibly growing worse. I did want to include that I'm seeing some talk and some reports of some potential violence over the weekend, over the holiday weekend. And the reports that I'm seeing, they're third, fourth, fifth hand. I mean, they're just rumors. I have no way of verifying them. So take it for what it's worth. I'm not a fearmonger. I'm not trying to scare anybody. But there's a lot of talk of spreading fireworks around to get people used to fireworks going off, hearing explosions. And then on 4th of July, the rumor is that there's talks of marching on Gettysburg and destroying that, and then marching on more rural and suburban neighborhoods and attacking people. Now, whether any of this is true or not, I don't know, but I would rather err on the side of caution than to ignore it. like I said, I'm not a fear monger. I don't like spreading fear. I don't think we should live in fear. But it's always good to maintain situational awareness, stay aware of what's going on around you. Stay aware of what's going on around you and just be alert. That never hurts. That's always good policy. Whether these attacks happen or not is regardless. I mean, we really need to start working on our situational awareness. A lot of people think they're situationally aware of what's going on around them all the time, and most of them don't have a freaking clue. And I plan on doing a video solely on situational awareness and things we can do to improve that skill set, that mindset. That's a video that's you can look forward to soon. But yeah, just stay aware of what's going on around you, because you never know. This country right now the tension is so high between races and between political parties that it's ridiculous. It's a powder keg, and it only takes one or two certain instances to set everything off. And that's what they want. And in my opinion, that's what the elite and the politicians, that's what they want. They have this country so freaking divided between race, class, political party. They've got us divided every which way they possibly can to keep us at each other's throats, fighting each other so that we can't focus on them. And they are the real problem. They are manipulating everybody with all of this racial crap. And the media is right in there with it. That's why you only see certain things about only black people on the news are committing crimes. It's the majority of them are black. No, the majority of criminals are not black. I would say it's more fairly evenly distributed among the races, but they only tell you about the black people. They don't tell you about the white people that are committing a lot of these crimes. And when there's a person unjustly killed by the police through excessive force or whatever, it's always a black person. They never tell you about the Native Americans that are murdered by police brutality. They don't tell you about the whites that were killed from excessive force. They don't tell you about the Mexicans. It's always the blacks. Why is that? That's to keep us divided, keep us fighting each other so we can't focus on the real enemy. And by real enemy, I mean the government, the politicians, the elite, George Soros, Hillary Clinton, all of them. They're agitating this crap so that they can manipulate the people, so they can maintain control and maintain power, or gain additional power that they want. It's a sad state of affairs when the people in this country are so easily manipulated through mainstream media, through Hollywood celebrities, and the elite. But that's what it is. We're being manipulated on a daily basis. And if you don't think that's true, like I said, just look at the news. It's always the criminals that are committing crimes. They're always black. And the people that are always being killed through police brutality and excessive force, they're always black. They never tell you about all the other races that happens to, or all the other races that commit these crimes, because that doesn't feed into the narrative. It doesn't feed into dividing everybody. What they would rather do is make it seem like all the brutality is aimed is being targeted at blacks by the racist whites, and that all the criminals are blacks. And it's just not true. There's good and bad among every race, regardless of how you feel about it. That's the truth. Criminal behavior is not defined by the color of your skin. It's by what's in your heart and what's in your head. So try not to fall into this crap, this false narrative, this divisional war that they're trying to wage on us. They're only doing it so they can consolidate power, maintain power, and influence the elections to go the way that they want. We, as a nation, we have to start thinking for ourselves and working together, because the real enemy are the people like Pelosi, Schumer, these politicians that have spent 40, 30, 40, 50 years in office and have become millionaires or billionaires in a position that was never intended to be a career. They are the real threat to this country, because they undermine everything that this country should stand for. Man, I don't mean to get into another rant. That's another discussion in itself on a whole nother level. But yeah, we've dealt with a lot over the last 4 months, between the COVID, the protests, the riots. And the protests and riots, they're not going away. They're going to keep agitating them. And we're only halfway through the year. There's more to come, folks. What I foresee, and there again, I'm not a fear monger. I don't like spreading fear. I would prefer to encourage people to stay alert, prepare, rather than react out of fear. But what I see is a manipulated election. They're trying to manipulate the election. And here's my prediction. If the Democrats win, it's not Biden that you got to think about. It's whoever his running mate is, because that's going to be the person in power. But if the Democrats win, you're going to see more restrictions on conservatives, more attacks on conservatives, more restrictions on freedoms. You're going to see a major push against the Second Amendment, a major anti-gun push. More socialism, because that's the end goal. They want to turn this into a socialist country. If Trump wins, and I'm not saying he's the greatest guy in the world, he's done some good things, but he's also done some things, in my opinion, that are really stupid. But if Trump wins, expect some retaliation. So there's going to be some riots. There's going to be some protests. There's going to be violence in retaliation for electing this white racist again. That's what I see. So either way this election goes, I don't see it being pretty. It's going to be a very volatile election year, regardless of how the election turns out. It's going to be extremely volatile, and we just need to be ready for it. So as always, continue to prepare. Stock up your food. Make sure you've got a food supply, because with the way that things are going financially in this country, there's a lot of businesses that will never reopen. And if we start shutting down the country again, just as it started reopening, expect even more businesses to go out of business. So you need to be prepared for that. Start saving money, putting some money back for an emergency. Build you an emergency fund. Have you some food put back. I would recommend a minimum of 30 days worth of food to help get you by. A lot of people say 60 or 90 days. Some people even go as far as 1 year. That's a judgment you have to make for yourself, based on you and your family. If you don't have a gun, or if you've just bought a gun and aren't familiar with how to use a gun, get some training. Learn how to use it safely. Learn how to maintain it. Safety above all, as far as guns are concerned. But get you some training. Don't just go out and buy a gun and stick it in your drawer and think you're good to go. Gun ownership, there's a lot more to gun ownership than that. But you need to have you a gun, a way of self-defense, because with all this push to defund and disband police departments, we saw a lot of blue flu, the call-outs in Atlanta, and crime has spiked. I think there were like 94 officers that called in the night that the officer involved in the Racer Books shooting was charged. So that's an example of what could happen. Criminal elements will take advantage of the lack of police or the slow, delayed police response. And you need to be prepared to take care of yourself and your family. Don't rely on the guarantee that police will be there, because they may not. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about tonight. Yeah, just with the COVID, the protests, the riots, the disbanding of the police, the threat of potential violence on July 4th, which, like I said, I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. It's just the word that I'm getting. But be prepared. It never hurts to be alert. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll never look back and say, I wish I'd been more ignorant of what was going on. I wish I hadn't paid so much attention as to what was going on around me. You never hear anybody say that. So just be alert. Stock up on some food, because you never know when there's going to be another major shortage because of shutdowns. You could lose your job if you haven't already, and that food could come in handy for providing for your family while you try to figure out another way of making some money. If you haven't got an emergency fund put back, start working on it. Every little bit will help. Have you a firearm? Learn to use it. Be ready, be prepared to defend your home in the event the police can't respond. Yep, I think I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk to you about tonight. But just watch your backs, folks. We live in a very uncertain world right now. It's a very volatile time in the United States. Tension is really high, so just be careful. Watch yourselves and watch your families. I got more videos coming. I am working on that. I got some good things in the works. It's going to take me a little while to get some of them done, but I've got some more stuff coming. I'm looking at maybe doing another giveaway here shortly. So be on the lookout for that. I've created a Patreon page, so if you choose to, you can support me through Patreon if you like what I do and get some value out of my channel. If not, that's fine. And I may be looking at other ways of you supporting me. If you don't want to use Patreon, I don't know. I've got to look into all of that. A lot of this is new to me. But I'm not asking for support. This is just if you choose to and if you get value out of this channel. Let's see, is there anything else I wanted to cover before I forget? I've kind of lost my train of thought. Yeah, just stay safe this weekend. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the holidays and enjoy time with your family. And have fun. Be careful, guys. Thanks for watching. And stay tuned. There's more to come. Catch you guys later. Good night.